The costume looks so bad you can't see. You should not see it during the daylight.
Whoa, 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 yeah, we are in the place to be, yeah, 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 yeah.
Hi-ho! ChibiMethos here, and welcome to the Little Old People Podcast. I'm here with my co-old person, Mark.
AKA the Little Black Dude. If this is your first time listening, we're two oldish nerds looking at random fandom from varying directions.
I'm a historian and archaeologist by degree and a former wage slave by trade. Mark's a jeweler, YouTuber, and fellow fan enthusiast. Now, when this episode goes out, I will be about to complete yet another rotation around our central star, so yay me.
Yay!
But also, last night, I saw the teaser trailer for Pat's new Batman movie in 2021. We had to do an episode about it because I had feelings.
Yes.
So we are going to do this. I know that's going to be a little difficult on an audio medium, but we are going to watch this trailer. We're going to go through it. We're going to talk about it because I have feelings and Mark has feelings.
Like, I have voice. So I'm going to use my voice to express my opinion about this motherfucker.
Yes, I will say I have reservations, and not about the sparkly thing. I know he's over that. Robert Pattinson is a perfectly decent actor. It wasn't about that.
That he definitely is, I agree.
I do believe that this will put an end to the whole sparkly bat comments if that's still a thing. But I still have other feelings. So let's watch this.
Okay, and now we shall begin. Mashing of play. All right. So we are beginning with the WB logo here and the DC Comics logo, which actually does look pretty cool.
It does look cool, but all right.
This is a very, very gritty opening here with a man's face duct taped, down with the words "No More Lies" written on it.
Yes. And then we get a shot of, it looks like a police commissioner walking through, examining the crime scene.
And we get Black Jim Gordon.
Yes, which was a little shocking to me. I'm not against it. And then we see the boots. Please pause it. Just pause it for a second.
Pause it.
We get the usual wall of crazy with newspapers on it and the word lies written in either paint or blood.
Mm-hmm. Now, looking at it, it is more likely paint. It does make it a little bit easier to understand it as paint. But This is what actually was getting me for a while. I wasn't sure who this character actually was because I don't follow Batman as much as I have followed other characters. But this is Don Mitchell Jr., who is the mayor of Gotham during the period of time that this is going on.
Okay, and I thought it might have been Don Corleone, but that makes more sense. Okay.
As much as I would love to know that The Godfather and Batman happened in the same universe, that is not the case. However, what is rather amusing is that the character Boss Maroni from the earlier Batman series, the one that threw acid into Harvey Dent's face, is actually based off Don Vito Corleone.
That makes sense.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, it does. But yes, we are basically set up to see that the mayor here apparently has done something that has angered a person who, for some reason, favors red paint. Yeah,
excessive use of it.
Yes. So, shall we continue?
Yes, please carry on. All right. So then we get a card and something about a Maroni drug bust and pause. Greeting card addressed to Batman. And then we see the suit, which has entirely too much plastic on it. He looks like an action figure.
Kind of, yes.
And I'm not here for it.
But there is one detail that I didn't pick up on at first that I actually saw in another video being pointed out, and it's actually kind of amusing. If you look at the bat on his chest,
oh yeah, it's two guns.
Two halves of a gun, yes.
Which is stupid. What I read last year was that was supposed to be the gun that killed his parents.
Yes.
And that literally made me want to rage flip my computer because that is so not a Batman thing.
Depends on which Batman you're talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
Because if you were talking about Dr. Thomas Wayne, absolutely. If you were talking about Batman from Year One, probably wouldn't have made sense. And according to the director, this is actually based somewhat on Batman Year One as well as The Long Halloween. So there's there's a lot to unpack for this. But yes, I like the fact that they decided to do that personally, because it does actually give some kind of context. But yes, very much action figure-ish. And it doesn't fit.
The points on his helmet are too small. And I have to say, his cape looks like one of those that you buy at Halloween to be a vampire when you're a kid.
Yeah, that
Again,
I agree with.
I'm not here for it. I'm not feeling it. And I don't like the shoulder armor. I know I'm being nitpicky here, but I'm not crazy about the pauldrons on his shoulder armor because from a costuming standpoint, it doesn't look like he should have the ability to move his arms forward very comfortably. Only from side to side, as if he were doing, elbows, swinging his elbows side to side. That's it. It looks like where the shoulder armor is, it would impede his ability to move his hands forward and backward. So it doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay. Now, as far as the ears on the cowl there, it again depends on which version of Batman you're following into, because as time has gone on, the length of the ears has changed a lot. Started out as a bit of a shorter thing, more of a stretched out type of domino mask. Then it transformed more into more bat ears and things of that nature, which have gotten longer during the 60s. It got shorter up until about the 60s, then started getting longer again, during the 70s and 80s. When they hit their peak was around 1989 Batman, when it was as long as they could possibly be.
Yeah.
And then they gradually started getting shorter. Now we start to see the short-eared versions of Batman's cowl leaning more towards the Frank Miller style Batman, and we've actually been seeing more of that in a lot of the current comics, which personally I like more as a design aspect. But I get that looking at him here, he doesn't look like Batman. He looks like Robert Pattinson cosplaying.
Yes, and I don't know, it kind of makes it more look like he's wearing a weirdly shaped football helmet. And if you're going for intimidating, that ain't it.
Nope. No way. I agree 110%.
Not trying to be that guy, but it's not working for me. That's all I'm saying.
We're already being that guy. Trust me, it's not going to change because you said it. Shall we continue?
Moving on, yes.
So, yes, checking out the cops. They're having a
press conference.
Press conference. There you go. Couldn't find the word.
and then we get, Batman on a motorcycle or someone on a motorcycle riding through a cemetery. All right, pause it, please.
Okay. I have some things to say here as well. I'll let you go first.
What is up with his hair? If you are supposed to be a businessman, if he's really supposed to be Bruce Wayne in this, Bruce Wayne should not look like his mother cut his hair in the 1970s by plonking a ball on his head and just going at it with snips. I get that we're in the middle of the beer flu. He does not need to have the beer flu haircut.
What amuses me more than anything is when I saw this scene, the first time I watched it, I said, what the hell is Tobey Maguire doing in this movie? Because damn if he doesn't look like Black Suit Spider-Man Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, the only thing he's not doing at the moment is walking down the street going, the only thing to do in a moment like this is strut. Okay, he's pushing somebody out of the way of an oncoming car.
Which has DOA written on the side of it there, which is very on the nose for a funeral, from what I'm gathering here.
Yeah. I mean, and you're also getting some glimpses of the very gothic architecture in the back, which is very pretty. I mean, I can tell this movie is going to be filmed very darkly, not just at night, but just like everything is going to have a very gray cast to it, which is fine. I mean, that's very much in the Gotham aesthetic, so I have no issues with that. I really like this architecture back here. It's very early modern Renaissance. I would say between 1140 and 1340 is what this looks like, with a random electrical light. But it's also very European, which is not really Gotham's aesthetic, but I do like the look of this. I'm here for it. That is fine. I have no issues with that.
One of the things that I came across as well is that some of the scenes in this movie that were shot before the world ended were shot in Liverpool so that they could get a little bit more of that look.
That would make sense then. That would absolutely explain why what I'm looking at here looks like King's College or, Cambridge or something like that. It's very much in that old world style. So yeah, I like it. And it makes sense. I mean, Robert Pattinson's British, even though people don't seem to know that. But yeah, that makes sense.
It's because faking an American accent is so easy.
Yeah, I've seen a few of them do it. All right, shall we carry on then?
Absolutely. So people almost getting run over, and then we have a guy with another birthday card taped to his chest
that says "To the Batman."
Yes, and apparently has a phone strapped to his arm as well. The only thing that I want to know is, did the criminals that put this whole thing together consult Heath Ledger?
Okay, if he has, is the phone? I didn't see it. Was it was it a landline or was it a cell phone?
It was a cell phone.
Oh, okay, good. Just as an aside, a friend of mine actually posted that he was on Amazon the other day, and he actually got an advertisement from Amazon for a beeper. So that's why I had to ask. So, I had to be sure. Because I don't know what retro tech they're trying to start bringing back.
For those of you who are listening, who might be, below the age of 20, which is unlikely, but definitely can happen, a beeper was a primitive way of people getting in touch with each other when they weren't in the house.
Yes, you mostly used it to phone your drug dealer.
You either had a beeper because you were extremely important, like a doctor or a businessman, or you were extremely shady, like a drug dealer, yeah. There was no in between when it came to
No. But then you had to at least have a head for numbers because you had to memorize phone numbers.
Yes, God, that was, long ago in the before times.
Yes. All right, so we were looking at a picture of a cat burglar here.
A cat burglar. Yeah, that's exactly what we're dealing with. Apparently, this is supposed to be a gritty rebooted version of Catwoman.
I was afraid you were going to say that. I was hoping they would go back to a single villain, but I guess there's no movie that can support, has one Jack Nicholson. So,
which is another reason why I was alluding to The Long Halloween, because it was one of the stories where the Rogues Galleries, decided we're going to work together to take out the Bat. They got the same kind of thing going on in here.
Okay. So now we're looking at Bat Pat in the Rain, and it's, again, the cowl.
Hold on one second. Come back here. Technical difficulties for a moment, but yes, Batman in the Rain.
And it doesn't look like he can turn his head, and that was actually a plot point in the Christopher Nolan films. Was that Batman wanted to be able to turn his head? It was literally a plot point.
Now, what's really amusing is in the right lighting, if you walked past the screen, not knowing what you were looking at, someone would ask you why you were. He looks like the Flash. No, he actually kind of looks more like Daredevil in this one.
Well, yeah, that's true.
But yes, I can definitely see the Flash in that. I can 110% see that.
And you know what? Maybe that's why the ears are weirding me out, because it gives it a more Daredevil than Batman appearance.
I can definitely see that as well. But that's another one of the reasons why I'm not liking the way that this is shot either. Yes, it's supposed to have that dark, gritty aesthetic, because that's what people are liking these days about Batman. The problem is, it makes it so hard to pick up on anything when everything is in friggin' shadow.
Yes, thank you. I mean, the only lights in this scene that we are looking at right now are literally the blurred out street lights in the background. That is literally it. And if Robert Pattinson wasn't wearing, I hate to say it, but lipstick in this scene, I would not be able to find the bottom of his face.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But yeah, there's this underlying aesthetic of desperation in the whole thing.
Yeah.
From what I'm seeing. And I honestly do think that that's necessary for this kind of movie, the way that they're setting it up. But we've had enough of that. Can we please have something else, please?
You don't have to shoot Batman in the dark for us to know that he's gritty. He doesn't. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the news reports that I used to see as a child about Russia and Eastern Europe while communism was still a thing. I was an adult before I went to Berlin, and I have to tell you, when I walked off the plane and it was a sunny day, my literal first thought, 8-year-old me inside my head was going, wow, the sun actually shines here. It was a stupid thought. It made absolutely no sense in context. But having grown up, only seeing pictures of the Eastern Bloc with gray skies and gray, dreary-looking people, I literally could not believe that the sun was actually out. And as soon as I thought that, I was like, why did I just think that? That was really stupid. But that was the aesthetic I was presented with as a child. This is the same aesthetic that they're presenting us with in Gotham, that it's only ever nighttime.
I agree, because that was the first thing I thought when I saw this trailer. I was like, okay, so when is daytime in Gotham?
Yeah. I mean, is this one of those cities that is only full of people who are allergic to the sun, and they figured out a way so that they can only go outside at night? Moving on.
Yes, moving on.
Okay, so then we get some criminals. Looks like some masks. Looks like the police are trying to beat up Batman.
And then a breakdance fight for some reason.
With Catwoman in a dark room. It looks like a library of some sort. Because I can make out some books, and there's way too many not turned on lamps in this room.
I can say for a certainty, if they do make a video game for this, which I'm very sure they're going to make a video game for this, it'll be real easy to make a next-gen video game because the whole thing is black and brown. Good God, give us some color. Please.
Well, there's some tan in the lower left-hand corner. That counts, right?
To a point, yes.
So, yeah, we get dance fighting. And again, I'm still looking at his armor, and do you see what I'm saying about how it looks like he can't move his arms properly?
Yep.
Okay, so it's not just my imagination. And the collar on his cape is a little high.
Like, I know this is supposed to be, early era Batman where he's still trying to figure himself out, but I'm pretty sure that this is not 1985. Why you popping your collar, Bruce? Seriously.
No matter how cool you think you are, you will never be as cool as popped collar Batman cool. This
is so. There's so many things going on here right now that I cannot process. Even after watching this trailer multiple times, I cannot figure out why these choices were made. No idea.
This is literally the second time I'm seeing this. Yes, slow down, but literally only the second time I'm seeing this, and I'm still not understanding what I'm seeing, the choices that I'm seeing here. So I don't think the number of times that you've watched it is relevant.
I don't either, as much as I wish that I could say that repetition would clarify things. It has not. Oh, it has not.
No. All right, let's move on.
Moving on.
Okay, so then we get an explosion, more duct tape, and then people with black face paint on. Now, where Batman is beating up a thug was kind of cool.
Just watching that scene, though, that is what people are going to go to this movie to see. That's
That's
Watching Batman whip people's asses is the only thing that anyone's going to care about in this movie.
Yes. I don't understand why he's beating up juggalos, though, because that's what these guys look like.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Okay, wait, hang on a second. What? I think it's the Riddler! Okay, sorry. My sister's yelling at me through the wall. She thinks the Joker's probably the villain. I think it's the Riddler, but I'm still not quite sure why these guys are dressed like juggalos. They don't look like Joker coons. That's all I'm saying. He likes color. Joker is the antithesis of Batman. Batman prefers it dark. Joker prefers it light. I don't think it's the Joker.
We need to have her on the next podcast.
I have been begging, and she just won't do it. So.
Wait, someone who is more microphone shy than you are? Holy crap.
Shocking.
But yes, this particular scene, actually, I do kind of feel something with it. Okay, first of all, gangs in Gotham that have an unusual aesthetic, that has always been a thing in Batman comics.
Yes.
That's straight up a thing that's always going on. Yes, they look like juggalos, and quite frankly, my personal opinion, juggalos need to go somewhere, with the exception of during the period of time when the world ended and they said we wanted to have a concert, but we're not doing it anymore because we ain't trying to lose one juggalo left.
There you go. Okay,
I'll give them the respect on that because they care about their own, which is good.
Okay.
The thing is, this scene where the dude just takes one swing at him and Batman then just, proceeds to beat him senseless.
Yes. I mean, he punched that guy at least 8 times.
Yes. And then when he hit the ground, drops down on him and punches him 3 more times in the face.
Yes. I mean,
I am surprised that he did not pick up the machete dude swung at him and started trying to cut himself, because he has some emotions to work through here.
apparently, I mean, that guy clearly like dissed his mama or something. Maybe he said Martha, because there is literally no reason for him to be beating on that guy like that.
Yeah, the rules are you cannot say the name Martha unless you have an S on the chest.
But yeah, this scene makes, and you're right, this is probably what most people will go to see, and it doesn't make sense. You cannot go to see an entire movie just for one fight scene.
No, they're going to expect more, and just from watching this trailer, there's not much more that's going to be going on in this movie.
No. I didn't even recognize that it was Catwoman earlier when I saw the preview the first time. So now I'm super disappointed, because this is now the third time we've had Catwoman.
Yep.
So that's disappointing. The one with Halle Berry doesn't count.
Yeah, no one wants to remember that, not even Halle Berry.
Hey, listen, I will give her props. She happily went in to accept her Razzie and even did an acceptance speech for it, which most people do not do, so I'll give her props for that. But, yeah, no, we don't talk about that. But yeah, so really, I was actually initially looking at what I saw the first time. My first thought was, oh, great. So we have the Riddler as the villain in this movie. Fantastic. And Edward Nygma is a very interesting character, and there's a lot you could do with him.
Yes.
And he is a strong enough villain, in my personal opinion, to carry a film on his own.
Now, here's my thing. The Riddler, while he is very much a second stringer in the Rogues Gallery, I agree. He is a character you can do something with. So see that the extent of what they're going to be doing, from what I can tell, is just trying to make Batman feel guilty. I hope they try harder.
Yeah, because we've already done Guilty Batman. I mean, that's like literally the first episode of everything. So we've already done that. Let's move on and do something new. So let's move past the Juggalos, please.
Okay, moving right along. No, you're not. You are not Vengeance.
And then, okay, pause. I will admit, the Batmobile does look kind of cool.
What I like about this version of the Batmobile is it reminds me of some of the designs from the 50s and 60s before we had Adam West Batman, who, by the way, is one of my favorite Batmen on Earth forever into perpetuity. Fight me.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I will not. I have no reason to. You know what? It looks like the car from Supernatural. It looks like Baby.
Yeah,
except souped up to be the Batmobile. So I'm here for it.
Yes, they took the idea of, okay, he's working with what he's got at this point, because even though billionaire, philanthropist, socialite, all that wonderful stuff.
Yes,
you still got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and why not an Impala? Why not?
Yeah, I agree. Because if you're gonna be a badass in a muscle car.
Exactly.
Yes, I definitely am on board with the Batmobile here. I like the look of this Batmobile. Like, it feels right. That's what I'm talking about. Like, from the angle in the trailer here, it actually kind of looks like a smaller version of the Batmobile from Batman the Animated Series.
A little bit, yes. Yeah, it's a little bit. It's less long. It doesn't have that long engine in the front, which definitely gave it a more 30s aesthetic. But yes, it does look very similar to that.
Yes, I enjoy the way it looks. This is something I can definitely get behind, and I would watch scenes of this car doing shit. That's about it when it comes to that. That's all I got to say on that.
Yeah, if they do a model of this, I definitely want it. Absolutely.
Yes, I am definitely with you on that. All right, let's continue.
All right.
Okay, so, giant engine running shit over, and then escaping from the cops. And
getting
Batman
shot by the
crazy.
cops.
Yes.
And then the Batman bye-bye. And then more Juggalos. Something red because of the reason. And then we get the title.
The Batman. Mwah!
And we get him taking off the cowl. And he looks like he's in a garage. Okay, stop it.
All right. The last couple times I looked at that last piece there.
Yes.
I kept trying to figure out where I had seen that face before, like that kind of morose-looking face.
with the grease paint and everything else. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't understand, number one, why he's so pale, but now that we've established the sun never shines in Gotham, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
I get the grease paint, but there was a reason he started wearing a black, bandana instead of the grease paint. It was a little easier, especially when he has to change clothes really fast.
Yes. But looking at the way that he's looking into the camera, well, looking kind of into the camera in the scene, reminds me of how they drew Kal-El's face on the cover for the graphic novel version of Return of Superman.
Ah, okay.
And that just seems completely anti what this movie is supposed to be going for.
Yeah. There's nothing hopeful about this.
No.
And I mean, if you can roll it back just a bit, just so we can see the garage that he's standing in or whatever. It looks like he's in a garage or a warehouse or something, and the Batmobile is there. We get the computer banks, that kind of thing. Because, yeah, see, there's the Batmobile on the left.
The way that he's got this whole thing set up, it kind of reminds me of how Batfleck had the Batcave set up.
Yes, very much so.
It's a lot more minimal, basically, which is a wonderful thing for this kind of a point here. He's just starting to really get into his own at this point, so it feels like he's still building on what he wants to have his home base be.
Right, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with I mean, yeah, we've already seen the origins of Batman ad nauseum, I should say, but I understand why it looks like that. That makes the most sense. But again, my question is, are we dealing with Bruce Wayne Batman? Are we dealing with an alternate universe Batman? I mean, if it was alternate universe, everything we've said is now would be irrelevant.
That's true.
Because if it's that kind of situation, then everything is up for grabs, and I have nothing to say. Because I mean, it's all a blank slate. But if he is supposed to be Bruce Wayne, this aesthetic doesn't make any sense. And I think, and like I said, just Catwoman alone is not enough to carry a film. So my question is, who's the second villain in this? Because there's really nothing, and it doesn't. Like I said, I first thought it was going to be the Riddler, but now looking at it again, I'm not so sure.
Okay, I do have an answer for that, as well as an addendum. Would you like to hear?
Please, carry on.
Okay, according to the director, yes, the Riddler is our main villain.
Okay, so I was right. Okay, fair enough.
Still kind of frustrated by how they're demonstrating him. And I really do hope they do more than just, I don't know, poor choices from Hallmark.
Yeah.
Yes. Secondly, of course, having Catwoman as a secondary is definitely a good thing. But looking at the film's cast, we're also going to be getting the Penguin.
Really?
Why, yes, we are. And the most amusing part of that whole thing for me is the fact that they decided that they needed to put 3 villains in this movie. That didn't go well the last time we did this.
No. It did not.
No, because that is the movie that we got Bat Nipples and Bat Credit Card from. No.
Bat Credit Card!
But yes,
okay, I have to say this. I'm glad that you were able to find that. I saw no indications of anything towards the Penguin, but if that's the case, that might explain our juggalos.
It could. It definitely
They could very well be Penguin goons. I'm still not happy about Catwoman. That is something that we've been... Don't get me wrong. Michelle Pfeiffer, hot.
Very.
As Catwoman. All for it. But, hell, even Anne Hathaway. I love Anne Hathaway. I love her very much. She was not a good Catwoman.
When a friend of ours told me I was going to enjoy The Dark Knight Rises because of how Anne Hathaway played Catwoman, I was very upset after the movie. I was like, so what was I supposed to like?
Yeah. I think you were just supposed to go, ooh, boobs, and that was the end of it. I think that was...
If that was the thing, though, you should have chose, I don't know anybody else.
Yeah, I don't understand why we're doing Catwoman a third time. Why can't we just... I realize that not everybody is Jack Nicholson. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But I don't understand why we can't have one villain. Adding to the villains is just a lazy way of saying, we didn't know what to do with this character, so we're just going to keep throwing bad guys at him and see what sticks.
I cannot disagree with that.
It's lazy writing.
Very, very
because
lazy.
instead of saying, I have the strength, the fortitude, and the stick-to-itiveness to write one script for one villain, it tells me there was an argument in the writer's room, and so they took 1/3 of 3 half scripts and threw it together and said, sure, this makes a whole movie.
Now, while I am very much on board with what you're saying right now, I also have to acknowledge that the fans did this too.
Yeah.
Because we got to this point, which in our last podcast we talked about, Batman versus Superman.
Sure.
How the characters are different, and which was more appealing, which was more capable, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that literally every time that I bring up Batman to the average, comic fan,
mm-hmm.
the first thing they say is, oh, well, Batman's too great at everything, so he'll win too easily, that kind of thing. So for some reason, having more than one threat going on seems to fit with the aesthetic of the Bat. And I'm like, but why?
But does it?
No, it doesn't. It does not.
Yeah, it does not. I mean, let's be real here. In reality, I know we're talking about a fantasy here, but roll with me. In reality, yes, sometimes threats come in multiples. See the year 2020.
Yes. Still waiting on sniper monkeys, by the way. I'm still riding on that one.
The sunset that somebody took that looked like it was the Eye of Sauron was enough for me, and I was just like, August's fighter has entered the ring. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, but I'm saying, on the whole, the chances that you would have a city with this many psychopaths in it is pretty slim. All right, so now we're already stretching credulity as it is. But the fact that they would all team up when they all have very, very different goals, if you put them together and they had similar goals, that would be one thing. Like, I could understand Poison Ivy working with the Swamp Thing or whatever. That makes sense.
In a manner of speaking, yes.
Because their goals are very similar.
Protecting the green, yes, protecting the green.
Exactly. Joker and Harley Quinn, while abusive, makes sense because he's just there for chaos and she's just there for him.
Yeah.
Catwoman is not a strong enough villain to hold a movie on her own.
Mostly because Catwoman's not really a villain as much as she is an anti-hero.
She's usually on screen as eye candy, somebody for Batman to kiss at some point in the movie because, can't have a movie without somebody sticking their mouths on each other. Mm-hmm. And that's it.
See, Eartha Kitt and Julie Newmar. Let's just call it a spade. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So why is she even there? But the Riddler, if you do it right, I don't see why he couldn't carry a movie on his own. Why can't Black Mask carry a movie on his own? Why not Red Hood? We haven't had any of those as villains in any film recently. Mm-hmm. We had Two-Face with Tommy Lee Jones and with Billy Dee. Mm-hmm. Why can't we have Two-Face on his own?
That's a good question as well.
Because of the relationship. Oh, yeah, and who was the one that played him in the last film? I can't even remember. But yeah, we've had Two-Face 3 times. Mm-hmm. But they've never done anything with him. He's just in the background being crazy.
Yeah, basically.
That's not Two-Face. Mm-hmm. So why can't we actually have a film where he's the main villain? Not his origins. We know how he got where he is. Mm-hmm. Why can't we have where we see, him as a character developing? Why don't we get a movie where he's training one of his Robins? Or why don't we have a proper Nightwing film? Can we get one of those?
That would actually be fun. That would be fun because Bloodhaven is a place that we have not seen in a movie yet.
Yes, thank you. Mm-hmm. Why can't we have the established Bat with the Bat family, with Oracle, fighting as a, fighting, because he would not be doing something, if his threat was this big, he wouldn't be fighting it on his own.
No.
Yes, I see, okay, he's just starting out, but if he's just starting out, he wouldn't have that many villains. So again, why would they all be multiplied and fighting together? It makes no sense.
And that's one of the things that will always kill me about this particular aesthetic. See, the way that the Batman movies were written back in the 80s, as well as your 60s era Batman TV show, mm-hmm. all of the characters were just that. They were characters. Mm-hmm. They would cycle them out, in different episodes. Sometimes they would team up, but more often than not, a specific point in time, you are dealing with a specific villain. Okay?
Exactly.
Even though in for example, Batman Returns, okay, the Penguin was our main villain. Period.
Yes.
Okay. Even though we had Catwoman in the movie, she was not the focus for the movie.
No.
At best, she was a foil for Batman. At worst, she was a love interest that didn't need to be there.
Correct.
But we 100% knew that the Penguin was the villain.
Yes.
Strong enough character to carry the whole thing. And if they had gone into the version of the Penguin where he was an arms dealer, you could have done so much more with that.
Yep,
That's a perfect example of how you could do this better. The Riddler, I agree, is another character who has a very strong personality when it comes to being able to, to bring something out in Batman.
And the fact that he likes leaving clues and puzzles and that kind of thing, that is where you're going to be able to focus on Batman as a detective rather than Batman beating up juggalos and then saying, I am vengeance.
I love it when you say juggalos. It's funny.
So I think there's other ways that they could have potentially gone with this.
Agreed.
Now, we will leave the clip, we'll leave the link for this particular clip in the description of the video. So if you haven't seen it, you'll be able to watch it yourself. It is only 2 minutes and 33 seconds. So it's really short. You'll be able to get through it really fast unless you get disgusted and have to reach flip your computer and then turn it back on and that kind of thing. But overall, I will say the costume doesn't look bad.
No.
I saw some behind the scenes pictures late last year and I was appalled. It looked really terrible. Now that could have been because it was in bright sunlight. And maybe that's the reason they decided that Gotham City will never see the sun, because the costume looks so bad you should not see it during the daylight. And if that's the case, then I have concerns. But as it stands now, at least the costume doesn't look bad.
Yes.
I still think it's kind of ridiculous that he can't move his arm side to side, but say la vie. Until we see a longer trailer, honestly, I can't say too much more on that, but I will say that I still have concerns. I will say that some people, and I've said this in the past, are excellent behind the cowl, but not so great as Bruce Wayne.
That is true.
I absolutely despise George Clooney's Batman.
I do as well.
He makes a decent Bruce Wayne.
I disagree with you, but I am 100% with you on him never having to be the Batman ever.
I mean, as far as the look of Bruce Wayne and
I'll give you that.
The characteristics of a businessman who's supposed to be a billionaire playboy philanthropist.
Yes, I can agree with that. Still,
that's what I mean.
Terrible.
But no, he should not have ever been given the cowl.
A perfect example of the exact opposite for me is Val Kilmer. He was wonderful, absolutely wonderful when it came to being Bruce Wayne, but he sucked as Batman. Oh God, he sucked. But he was one of my favorites because of how bad he was.
I enjoyed Val Kilmer as Batman, but you're exactly correct. I preferred him as Bruce Wayne. I was not as sold with him as Batman.
Definitely not.
The last one.
Christian Bale.
Thank you. I couldn't remember his name. Sorry, this is what happens when you record with no script. Christian Bale. Excellent Batman, not as convincing as Bruce Wayne.
I can give you that. I can definitely give you that. I still think his Batman was weak, but he was definitely better as Batman than he was as Bruce Wayne.
Correct. 1989 Batman. 100% sold on both.
Yes, because Michael Keaton plays everything well in that movie.
Correct. Hell, Adam West, as cheesy as he was, 100% sold on both.
That dude was having fun the entire time.
Exactly, and that's what made it fun. But I'm not buying, at least at this juncture, this early juncture, I am not buying Bat-Pat here.
No, because we've only heard him say 5 words. That's the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm not seeing the aesthetic of Bruce Wayne, and he's overselling the aesthetic on Batman.
Yes, but again, that's the fans' fault.
Yeah.
We've done this. We did this to ourselves. That's the issue, okay? I'm a DC guy. I have always been and will always be a DC guy. So whenever a DC Comics film comes out, I'm excited about it. The problem is we have done Batman to death because for whatever reason, he's the only character that seems to sell tickets consistently. The unfortunate part about this is even though Bruce Wayne is a deep character, when the story you tell is literally the same story over and over and over again. We need something different.
Yes, I 10,000% agree. Honestly, and that is why I enjoyed the Joker. I know a lot of people were like, I don't know, but the fact that the Joker is so crazy made that movie one of those where you're not sure that what you're seeing is actually real. Was he the actual Joker? Was he not? Was he just crazy? And that's kind of what made it fun. But also, it did not have the DC moniker on it as much as I would love to see more decent DC films. DC does not know how to make movies.
They can make TV shows very well.
Yes.
Their movies kick people in the nuts half the time. Not cool.
Every single time, without fail. It is unrelenting nut punches.
Yes.
Warner Brothers, on their own, did the Joker, and it was fine. People went to see it in droves.
I refused to watch it personally because of how much hype people threw at this movie. That's the only reason I didn't go and see it, because I don't like the hype train. I let that sucker go by every friggin' time.
And I did go see it, not necessarily because of the hype train, but because I like Joaquin Phoenix, and I happen to, he's one of those people that
he's
pretty much anything he's in, I'm just like, I'm there for it. So I actually enjoyed it because it was a well-told story. But again, DC was not necessarily completely involved in that. That was really more of a Warner Brothers thing, and it was fine. Batman the Animated Series was Warner Brothers, not
Absolutely.
DC. It was fine. You cannot touch it. It is solid gold.
I have to, one of these days, I know you don't want to appear on camera, but one of these days, I want to have a supercut of some things that you do on camera, because you are so animated when you talk about this kind of stuff. So please leave a comment if you want to see a supercut of our dear Captain Sama showing off. She's like, no, don't do it. Not too bad. If people want to see it, we gonna make sure it happens. Don't worry, I will blur your face out. It'll be like watching America's Most Wanted.
Yeah, there you go.
So, just based on the way that this trailer has been put together, what do you think would be a good workaround? What kind of things do you think would improve the aesthetic?
First, Robert Pattinson needs a haircut.
Yes.
Number 2, he needs a suit that fits, because that suit looks like it came off the rack. Bruce Wayne does not wear anything that did not come from Savile Row. Let's just be real here.
Straight up Taylor, baby.
Yes. Yeah, put that man in an Oswald Boateng, and then we'll talk. Number 3, fix the pauldrons on the suit, please. If you cannot move your shoulders, how do you punch people without stabbing yourself in the armpit?
You have a point.
Please elongate the ears on the cowl. That is just, I'm sorry. I know it's a little thing, and I know it's not important, but the stubby little ears are just gonna bug me.
For those of you who have never experienced it, this is nerd rage.
Quarter of an inch! A quarter of an inch! Because right now, they're the same size as Daredevil's horns, and if you remove them completely, then he will have the smoothness of the Flash. He is neither of those things. Please do something about it. And for the love of God, if you're going to film in Liverpool, where you have all of this beautiful, late medieval and early modern architecture, film it in the light of day so people can see it.
Be a good thing, definitely. As for me, 1, and this is the absolute number 1 thing for me, okay? Stop making gritty Batman. I do not have a problem with Batman being broody, but every single time is getting old, okay?
Yes.
I miss when Batman had fun with things, okay? I miss some of the camp. It doesn't need to all be campy, but it needs to not all be gritty, okay?
Yeah.
We have enough of that shit. We've watched the planet end during our lifetime. We need to stop. We need things to be happy about, okay? That's number 1. 2, if you're going to use multiple villains, have there be a reason, please.
Thank you. Yes, I agree.
I don't care whether or not you have 2 or 3 villains in a movie, as long as the reasons why they're there make sense.
Yeah.
Because you can have multiple plots, like we said earlier. You can have 2 or 3 villains working on the same thing. You can have it happen. Don't just have them there just because. It's like, you know what? We need to fill this thing. We need to pad it for time. No, we don't. We do not. Okay?
No.
Number 3 for me, dialogue needs to fit. Okay? The things that are being said just in this trailer, it feels like, yes, there was a writer's room, but there were maybe 3 people in it, and all of them had not had their morning coffee for the last 6 years.
Also, they weren't talking to each other.
Yeah. I cannot believe for one moment that a multi-million-dollar movie can be made in this particular vein without having some talky bits.
We did it for 20 years in the beginning of the last century.
Yeah, we absolutely did. It does not change the fact that we are not pouring this kind of money into something where no one has anything interesting to say.
Well, maybe we'll get title cards, like we used to.
Dun, 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 and Slidey Whiplash comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say this. One of the things that I am kind of amused by, because you don't see it very quickly, but I recognized when you get to hear that someone is speaking to Bruce, I want to assume that it's Alfred that's speaking. Okay,
that's true. We never do see Alfred.
No, I know he is in the movie because he's being played. Yeah, he is being played by Andy Serkis. Yeah, we are going to get quite possibly the buffest Alfred on the face of the earth.
I'm sorry, my brain just shorted out for a second. Did you say Andy Serkis is playing Alfred?
That is what I said, yes. Unless they have a recast sometime in the next year. It's Andy Serkis, yeah. I was waiting for him to ask me what I knew about Wakanda.
Why is Gollum in this movie?
I have no idea. None whatsoever.
Don't get me wrong, I love Andy Serkis to death, but I'm sorry, I've hit a processing error.
These are
my brain has literally hit a processing error.
Like I said, these are the things. These are the things that are killing me about this movie. Like, a lot of the choices that are being made would be good choices for other friggin' movies!
Yes! I completely agree! Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't with this. Alright, I'm done. I can't anymore. My brain is literally broken. I can't.
When it comes down to it, we have a lot to be desired here, but hopefully they can pull it out of this tailspin that's going on, and maybe it's just a bad cut of the trailer here, and they'll give us some more. Please give us some more.
They said it said it was still filming. It said it's still currently filming, which I understand. And maybe, this was just the teaser trailer that we would have seen at the theaters where we all able to go to the movies again. And maybe it will be something completely different, and this entire episode will be completely moot and irrelevant, in which case I will more than happily mute it or take it down, or maybe we'll just leave it there as a cultural capsule.
Oh, we definitely should leave it there, because this mess was fun.
At this point, I just can't. I'm so done with DC at this point, I can't even anymore.
Well, if that is how you feel, let me share something with you that I hope will help.
Oh, no.
No, this is actually good. I recently have been going back through some of the old comics that I had missed during the period of time when I had to choose between fandom and food. And I came across a series that I did not know existed, but I had known was toyed with. There were a set of action figures as well as them doing statues called DC Bombshells. 40s era versions of a lot of the female characters from the DC universe. There is a comic series of it, and it's good.
Huh. I don't even think I've ever heard of that one. Let's see.
It is quite interesting.
Okay, let's see. Do a quick Google here. There we go. Now, is it just the comics or is it just the statues?
The comics, there are 100 issues.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like I said, it is a full series, and I'm enjoying how it's put together.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just developed a non-sexual crush on Rosie the Riveter Wonder Woman. That is amazing.
You see, there are things that DC can do very well. Movies just aren't one of them.
I'm sorry. I agree with you. No, this Wonder Woman is amazing. I love it. This is fantastic. I love their headband. I love the shorts. I love her metal gauntlets. This is fantastic. Sorry. Okay, so yes, well, I'll look at that.
Yes, it is a very useful thing to come across what it is that DC's strengths are, and they are good at telling stories, good stories, with excellent art when you let them do so. The problem is that people lost their minds over Marvel's movies, so DC thought that they needed to compete there. Nah, they didn't. They didn't need to. They were already doing great things that most of the mainstream have nothing to do with because it doesn't star Batman, which kills me. However, the fact of the matter still is that DC could make good movies, but they should still focus on the comics. That's how I feel.
I agree.
Yeah, as far as this version of Batman, it's going to take a lot for me to go and watch this movie based on this trailer. But if you, the wonderful listeners who, for whatever the reason you might have, are listening to some of us, our ranting and ravings, please let us know what you think about our opinions on the trailer for the Batman. And how can we do that? Easily. When you go over to our link tree, that is linktr.ee/little-old-people-podcast, you'll be able to check out all of our social media, as well as our YouTube and our Sounder, and the Little Old People podcast is on Google Podcasts, as well as being available wherever you find your podcasts. So please check things out, take a look, share with your friends. And if you'd like to tell us how great or terrible we might be, please send us a message on Facebook at facebook.com/littleoppodcast, or tweet at us at twitter.com/littleoppodcast, or you can send us an email at littleoldpeoplepodcast@gmail.com.
All right. Well, I just ordered episode 1 of Bombshell, DC Bombshell. Yeah, it's called Enlisted. I'm buying that right now. But yes, I've been ChibiMethos. He's been the little black dude, and we'll talk to you on our next episode. Place order. Place order. Place order. Thank you.
And now we are out.
Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.